Hey guys, in this video we're going to discuss variables and a review of what we learned in class. This is the first part of two videos. First I want to review some of the things that we talked about Python in general. So Python reads statements or instructions from the top to the bottom like a recipe. Spaces are very important. Variables must start with a letter, and there's more. I'm going to talk about more of that soon. Variable names should be lowercase. These words cannot be variables. These are reserved words, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. So I'm going to jump over to a computer and open up mu. If you don't remember how to use mu, watch the video on mu and Thony. All right, so I'm going to work in script mode at first in mu. I'm just going to write a comment here about what we're doing in this video, working with variables. So I'm going to create a variable called a and set it to 10. And if you're going to write this out on a piece of paper, you might write a like this. So a with an arrow pointing to 10 to say that in memory a has a 10. Okay, we're going to have a variable called b, and we're going to set that to 20. Again, if you were writing this out on a piece of paper, you'd write an arrow. We can add a plus b, and we're going to run this, but first we have to save it. Documents, our projects on your computers. We save this as variables .py. But nothing happens here because we're in script mode, and in script mode we have to actually print out things. But I'm going to jump over to interactive mode and do some of the same things here. So again, a equals 10, and then we're going to do b equals 20. And if we do a plus b like we did in script mode and interact mode, it'll give us the result. Okay? But it's more useful to use variable names that are more descriptive. So I'm going to say apples equals 10. And I'm going to say pears equals 20. And I'm going to create a new variable called fruits. And I'm going to add apples to pears, and the result of that addition is going to be saved inside of the variable fruits. So if I check what's inside of fruits, you'll see the same result as above, 30. So do that in script mode. I'm going to turn off interactive mode. First, we have to put a print function around this addition. So print, using the print function, spell that wrong, print with the parentheses around that addition, the a plus b, to actually get that to print out. We're going to create these variables again inside of script mode. Apples equals 10, pears equals 20, and we create a variable called fruits, which will equal the addition of apples plus pears. Okay, and to print out fruits, we have to use the print function again. So print fruits, and now when we run this, we should get 30, 30. Okay, because a plus b is 30, and then apples, and then the variable fruits has a 30 inside of it. Okay. All right. Do a little bit more examples here. We can also save decimal numbers. We don't have just have to save whole number. So if we can save a number like pi, 3.14159 inside of Python. We can also save Boolean expressions rather, if you remember from class. So I can save the word true or false inside of a variable. So if I wanted to use this, say in script mode, I could create a sentence that says something like this. Is it raining? And then we will close out this quotation or this string and then actually use the variable raining. And again, I could have named that variable anything, but it's useful to name your variable something that makes sense. Okay? All right, so run that. And it says, is it raining? So here, the pi doesn't print out because we didn't put it in print, but the is it raining does print out. So is it raining prints out true. That's the value inside of raining, the variable raining. Okay? All right, moving on. I'm going to delete this and make a couple more, show a couple more examples here. All right, so you can also save strings inside of variables. So I can save a sentence like this inside of the variable called message. So you can think of, again, message pointing to this sentence if you were writing it down on a piece of paper. So in this sense, say, and now this for something completely different. And if we wanted to print out this message, use the print function again and run that. And we got it to print out. But again, we can name variables anything. It's just useful to name variables things that make sense. So let's see if we use this variable in a print statement with a string. We can actually right here say the message is, and then message. But again, like I said, we could change this variable to something like b, but b isn't really descriptive. It doesn't really change how the code will work, but it makes it more difficult to read your code. So you should always use variable names that make sense, that actually explain what's inside of the variable, so it's easier for you and it's easier for other people when they're reading your code. Okay? All right, we can delete this. And now I want to talk about some of the things that are not allowed when you're creating variables. So as I mentioned, variables should start with letters. So you can't start with a number like 76. So I'm going to create a variable here with a number just to show you. Now the number can be after the letter, but it can't be the first thing in the variable name. So this variable, if I were trying to write a program and I created a variable with the 76 or any number at the beginning, this will create an error because it starts with a number. All right. You will also get an error if you try to use special symbols inside of a variable. So if I try to use the @ symbol with this variable name, so it starts with a letter here, but I have an @ symbol inside of it. If I try to set this to 1000, this will create an error as well because of the @ symbol. And as I said earlier, there are certain words that cannot be variables. There are reserved words, and one of those reserved words, as an example, is class. So if I try to create a variable called class and set it to an advanced theory, this will create an error as well. And it really doesn't matter what I try to set it to. You cannot use reserved words as variables. It doesn't matter that I'm saving the variable that starts with a number to Big Parade, or if I saved it to a number, or try to, it doesn't really matter. The issue is that 76 can't be at the beginning of a variable name. Okay? So you see the error that I got there. I got invalid syntax. So if I delete that and try to run this again, I'm going to get another error because, again, the @ symbol creates an invalid syntax error. So delete that and stop and run again. Yet another error because the class is a reserved word and it's invalid syntax. So watch out for those issues when you're trying to create variable names inside of your programs. Okay, that's up for coding for now. I want to recap some of the things that we reviewed in this video. First, variables are how we save data inside of Python. They're containers for storing data or values. They're stored in computer memory. They can be used or updated while the program runs. Assignment operator is used to set them, and here are some examples based upon what we did today. That's it. See you guys in the next video.